The voice of sharing, 旅人那乡。
Hi, this is Arlene. What a beautiful morning. What day is today, by the way? It's Tuesday, isn't it?
Yes, it is Tuesday, and we have 3 more days to the weekends, and I can't wait.
Why so? Why so you can't wait?
I think it's been really busy the last couple of days, and I cannot wait for the long holiday that comes with Raya as well next week.
Oh yeah, Raya is next week. I think a lot of Muslim as well as non-Muslim are excited about Hari Raya. You know, there's so many kuih, muih, and so many, all this great, awesome Malaysian food that, I think a lot of people are looking forward towards.
Yes, and I'm gonna be eating a lot, so when you see me next, I'm gonna be blown up like a balloon, I think.
Yeah, and then you will have your diet scheme to follow
I
through
don't
after that.
usually go on a diet though. I just sit and complain about it, and that's about it.
Hmm.
I love food too much.
For me, the way forward is to play tennis as much as I can.
That's right. Tennis last night.
Yeah, tennis was fun. Yeah, I think I'm starting to getting back in shape in terms of playing tennis. As it has been so long and I haven't played, so I'm quite excited and I'm starting to, be more
But
active in
I
life.
think we did a pretty decent job last night. We had a good game,
Yeah, we
but we
had a very
definitely
good
have to
game.
do it more often.
Yeah, that's true. And what country that needs to be doing more often is, of course, having a more matured democracy. And I think what I can see in Indonesia is, yeah, they throughout these few months, where during the campaign election and during from the very the smallest campaign, which is I think their village campaign, towards the larger campaign, which is the presidential election campaign. It seems like Indonesia is definitely gearing towards a much more mature democracy. And what I'm seeing now, um, they are going to announce, although I think everyone would probably have known
Hmm.
who is the winner, but they are going to announce today that Jokowi will be the next president of Indonesia.
That's right. They've been waiting for a really long time for this moment for Jokowi to emerge victorious and to take over the country and to carry on with this democratic reform that they've been trying to achieve all this while.
And that's why um, it's being said that Indonesia's Electoral Commission is poised to officially declare Joko Widodo the winner of the country's presidential race. However, the result looks destined for a legal challenge.
That's
So
right. It seems
that's a
that
very interesting development.
Prabowo is already challenging the elections commission, saying that they must have miscounted, there must have some hanky-panky stuff must have been going on. There's no way Jokowi could have won because we saw that video of him and he was really, really confident that he was going to
Yeah,
win.
I think he was interviewed by an Australian news
Yeah, and
channel
even
where
when she asked him like, "What if you don't win?" He's like, "There's no if. I'm gonna win this thing. Are you listening to me?"
But
So
but in another way, I have to say that the presidential race it's a very close race. So it's, in a way, I think what he said makes sense as well, because a lot of Indonesians are divided in terms of opinions whether to choose Prabowo or
mhm.
Jokowi. And yesterday I attended a very interesting talk organized by Gerak Budaya um in Petaling Jaya, and they invited this one researcher. I think he was a researcher slash journalist, and he explained to all of us Malaysian about his idea on how the presidential race will affect religious freedom. And he gave this chart dividing it into different categories, and each category shows that whether they prefer Prabowo better or Jokowi better, and it is divided across ethnicity, across gender, age group, and also social class. And what I can see is each of the class or each of this ethnicity and social group seems to be very divided in terms of whether they prefer this one better and or that one better. And the interesting part is the middle class of Indonesia prefer Prabowo better than Jokowi, while the normal, society that is your like the vendor on the street and all that, they would prefer Jokowi. So that's why it's very divided. So the middle class prefer Prabowo, and then the rest of the class prefer Jokowi. And it's also divided among ethnicity. Like a lot of Javanese prefer Jokowi, and a lot of like more Islamic centric ethnicity prefer uh, Prabowo, like the Minangkabaus and all that.
But Jokowi has always been the most, I wouldn't say the most, but the more popular candidate for these elections. From the start. We saw how he was winning everyone over with his friendlier persona. He was one to actually get down to the fields and actually get to know people. And he says he uses words like "let's do this together" as opposed to "I will do this for you" or "I will do that." And that won him the hearts of a lot of people. And as we I think we spoke to a few people as well, and they were really, really sure that Jokowi was gonna win this thing. They were like, "There's no doubt
But
about
it's
this."
probably our circle,
Mhm.
like maybe our circle of friends are mostly Jokowi supporters. So far, I haven't have any friends that are Prabowo supporters. I hope I do find one, but probably I can't find any. But another interesting point that I want to brought out that we would assume that Prabowo is pro like Islamism and all that, while Jokowi is more towards pluralism and all that. But interesting point that the speaker raised yesterday that Prabowo came from a Christian background. In fact,
Mhm.
he converted to Islam to marry his wife, which is the daughter of Suharto.
Mhm.
So, um, in a sense, like you cannot say that Prabowo is pro-Islamism, even though a lot of Islamists support Prabowo, because he can say that, hey, I came from a Christian family. All my brothers and sisters are Christians, and I I grew up in a very pluralistic society. And for Jokowi, of course, his politics is very clear. He's very much pro-moderation and um, pluralism and Indonesians' idea of racial harmony. So I think, in a way, I think that is what separates Indonesian politics with Malaysian politics in a way.
And also with Jokowi, now that he's won and the official results will be out today, and there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. I read a lot of articles earlier before this that said, okay, so now that Jokowi's won, he's gonna have to start carrying out all his promises, all his manifestos, and how is he gonna do it? How long is he gonna take to do it? Will he actually deliver his promises to the people? So everyone is just waiting for that change to happen right now.
Yeah,
They are at such a vulnerable point.
I think you raised a very interesting point, which our speaker today from Indonesia will be
Hmm.
speaking about, which is, will he be another Obama?
Yeah, but I mean, even speaking of Obama, like he was the uh, the icon or the hope for change. But even after a while, people kind of got tired of him and his promises and his words, that they felt like he was just another puppet sitting there in place of the previous president.
A lot of people don't realize like one man cannot change the entire structure, institution structure. Um, the problem with Obama is he overpromised, and people have very high expectation of him, and he couldn't. It's not like he couldn't deliver. It's just that the delivery is either too slow or
Hmm.
is something that or receive a lot of backlashes. For example, his delivery to totally get rid of Guantanamo Bay, and also to provide a better healthcare, or they call it Obamacare.
Hmm.
It is either too slow or it's being rejected by the whole Congress. So the problem with him is he have a lot of influential power within the public, but very little influential power within his own um, party or within the whole Democratic and also Republic, the Democrats and also Republicans.
And there's absolutely a parallel situation here with Indonesia, I think. I don't think Jokowi overpromised, but he did also set a very high expectation on people. I think the way he even carries himself, his young and fresh ideas and his approaches to address the issues. So
And he's
he
very
also.
open to society. Like he wouldn't mind walking down the market to
Mhm.
say hi to people, unlike Prabowo, which is very unapproachable. And I mean, I actually quite excited about this when I tweet. I don't really tweet. When I put my on my Facebook status that I was so excited that Jokowi won,
Mhm.
a lot of my Indonesian friends and Malaysian friends were like, "Wow, you know about our politics." And one of my friends also, one of my friends said to me, "Arlene, I think you need a Jokowi in Malaysia." I'm like, "I do, yeah, we do
Oh.
need a Jokowi in Malaysia." You, so I mean, in Malaysia right now, our
Mm.
politics also is something that is very partisan.
Mhm.
Uh, I think people were hoping that Anwar would be like, something like Jokowi making changes and all that, or putting up the, giving, providing that spiritual excitement towards, the
Mhm.
future of this country. But
I
in the
guess
end,
at the end of the day, we
mhm,
just want to have some change. It's not
mhm,
really about Najib. It's not about Anwar. It's not about the parties. We just
mhm,
want to see the country moving forward. We want to see some changes. We want to get rid of the corruption. There's just a lot of things that we want to fix. And anyone who can fix it, we're going to vote for them, you
yeah,
know.
I definitely agree with that. And I think the new generation of politician, I really look up to them,
Hmm.
regardless it's from the government camps or the opposition camps. I think they should be the game changer of this country. Anyway, move forward to another news. We delve too much into in Jokowi that we even talk about our Malaysian politics. But another development with the MH17. So Malaysia demands unrestricted access to crash site.
Yeah, so apparently a lot of they've been sending teams to the crash sites, but our team have not been able to gain access into the affected areas to actually go and examine or retrieve or carry out their operations in the crash site, and that is very I would say very disappointing in a way because this tragedy has already happened and it's bad enough, and now that we're trying to send our own team to go in there and give us some first-hand information, but they're not actually given access to go to the site itself.
But why they are not being given access? Who controls the area?
Oh well, I think for now it's still the Ukrainians or whoever that's around there. They still want to carry out their operation first before they
Mm.
let someone from outside go in and probably tamper with the bodies or the evidence.
So the interesting point is I saw a lot of uh, bags of bodies are
Mhm.
already been transferred to a place where they can refrigerate the bodies. But when it comes to like investigation, what we know is only international body that has so far managed to briefly access the crash site was the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, or OSCE. The rest of the international group are still unable to access the area, and a lot of even our sorry, not our prime minister, even our minister of transport also went to Kiev. I think he went a few days before to visit the the minister in Ukraine to discuss about this. Well, one of the interesting one of the interesting development that I think with MH17 also is regarding on the black boxes. Like, where are they now? Are they still being, yeah, are they still at the crash site, or have they already been taken away by the separatist groups, or they are, being given back to the Ukrainian government? So this is something that I think a lot of people are still having a question mark on this black box
Yeah,
matter.
and the black box, as we all know, contains the most information, and even with the MH370, that was our biggest issue that we couldn't locate or retrieve the black box. But in this case, we do know that the black box they're still there and they're not destroyed or anything. But we haven't been able to get our hands on it either
Mm.
because it's still. Well, but I guess Malaysia has reached an agreement with the Ukrainian rebels for to have the black boxes handed over to Malaysia. So hopefully then we will know what exactly went on the plane and find out what was the exact situation.
Another point that I thought it was really interesting that a lot of people raise up in the social media is in terms of our voices in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have to applaud Datuk Sri Najib for really pushing forward for the investigation to move forward, and also for the rights of the victim, themselves, and the victim's family, to and at the same time, I also applaud our Malaysian politician for not making this a political issue, and for, I hope that they can work together to solve this MH17 tragedy. But at the same time, I'm also concerned that our voices might not be might not be loud
Mm-hmm.
enough, because a lot of people say that, even the Australian Tony Abbott and also the Prime Minister of Netherlands was
Mm-hmm.
so loud. I mean, they were so vocal in their condemnation of Putin.
Mm-hmm.
But for our Malaysian government, we try not to be involved in this partisan geopolitical war. Rather, we still assist, we still work together with Ukrainian government, but at the same time, we don't condemn Russia. I think that's the part um, that makes us feel like makes us seem like we are meek in terms of our foreign policy. But what do you think about this?
I think that Najib has been definitely pushing for answers, and he's been working really hard to reach an agreement with all these different people to gain access to the crash site, to for the black box, and also to, of course, find out what exactly happened, how did they shoot the plane down. But then there's also all these things about the evidence being hidden in Russia, being the missile being taken back, and I think with all this that's happening, probably we also don't really have an SOP maybe for this kind of events, because it's really unprecedented, and we don't really have a specific plan to handle this.
To be very frank with you, from my understanding of our foreign policy, ever since most probably the 90s, ever since Mahathir stepped down, we don't really have a clear direction in terms of our foreign policy. Um, in the past, we were quite clear when it comes to the apathy, when appetite. Sorry, apathy is it?
Appetite.
Appetite. Sorry. When it comes to the appetite in South Africa, we were very vocal during the Commonwealth uh, meetings, and we were also very vocal in all the different global events that is happening, especially in relations to human rights. Especially when it comes to Mahathir, I think he was the more vocal one, especially towards America, Israel, as well as towards Islamic countries. He gained a lot of supports within the third world countries and all that. But when it comes to post Mahathir foreign policy, what I can see is we are actually quite silent. We have
Mm-hmm.
been very neutral, and it's in the past has been good. I mean, during Badawi's time and the early parts of Najib, because I mean we are just a small country, so
Mm-hmm.
it's no point for us to be involved in the needs, in the
Yeah,
tacky
that's
bits of
that's probably why
foreign
as well,
policy.
because our relationship with China has always been good. We never really had any major conflicts, so probably that's one of the reasons why they don't want to be too loud or be too condemning, because
Yeah, but it played well in the
mm,
past. But what I can see now, since we have been silent, I won't say silent, but not as vocal as we should be in regards with the MH17, I'm afraid that we might be seen as a country that is, um, as a country that is too neutral, that we don't really have a stand. In other words, that how can people take us seriously when we
mm,
don't take the global issue seriously? I mean, it's obviously that Putin needs to be accountable. If the separatist group has been in charge of the area and they have been the one who put out the missiles,
mm-hmm,
but Putin has been silent, and Malaysia has no um, views on what they should speak up about when it comes to Russia. I think Malaysia should do something, should say something. They should be as vocal as the Australian Prime Minister, and I really respect that, because I
mm-hmm.
think at the end of the day, the victims of the MH17 should get justice. And I think when it comes to Malaysian foreign policy, we need to be clear in our stance, and our stance should be based on human rights when it comes to foreign policy as well. So anyway, um, about other than foreign policy, actually there's also a news in there's a news in Thailand right now that many Thais expect Yingluck to choose exile over trial.
So the former Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra is scheduled has a trip to Europe this week, has triggered intense speculation about whether she will go into foreign exile, reports said on Sunday. So
Mm.
she was ousted as the first female prime minister by the court decision shortly before a military coup in May insisted that she intends to return from a European holiday by August 10.
Hmm. So the ruling junta granted Yingluck permission to leave the country on holiday with her son on Thursday. On holiday, that's interesting. But on the same day, on National Anti-Corruption Commission found her guilty of negligence in the management of a rice subsidy scheme that was riddled with corruption. So the case is expected to the case is expected to be forwarded to prosecutors for indictment and trial.
And if she's found guilty, she can actually face a jail term of up to 10 years, it seems.
Hmm.
And yeah, it seems like the Thai people really don't want her to come back and to contest in the elections, and they would rather that she choose exile and stay out rather than coming back and participating in the elections.
What I find to be very interesting in terms of this, um, the issue on the Thai politic is it's so similar in the way her brother was being handled as
Yeah.
well. Her brother also went into exile in Europe, and he never came back after that. And I think a lot of the people in Thailand very much done. They are totally done deal with Yingluck.
But I'm glad that Indonesia they stood up for their elections. They spoke up. They their voices were heard, and they have finally chosen their president. But in Thailand, it doesn't seem to be that way. They've been pushing back the election dates like forever, and they still haven't decided on a day to actually come up with an election date, and they haven't even decided on their candidates. And now with the military coup being there and establishing their position, where is this actually going?
I totally agree with you. And also I think that the military are definitely comfortable with their own situation right
Mm-hmm,
now,
mm-hmm.
being in charge of the country. I mean, you can see a lot of propaganda being spewed by the military on trying to show that, military, the military government, I would say government because they are governing
Mm-hmm.
Thailand right now, are a friendly lot, and people should respect that. People should accept that, and they even have a song to praise the military. So I found it a bit amuse. But at the same time, I totally understand that the politics in Thailand is a totally different ballgame. I think they are
Mm-hmm.
very. I mean, when it comes to Southeast Asian politics, they are the most partisan one. I mean, if I can say that, compared to other countries, I think their support for whoever party it is very much based on social class. It's extremely partisan.
But it seems that while they're actually protesting, there's all this silent protests going on, which is all a good thing. But there's nothing more solid taking place to let the military really know that you guys need to get out, and we really want our democracy back. I feel like there's nothing stronger than that. Is well.
Well, totally agree with that. There's nothing. A lot of my Thai friends
Mhm.
are definitely eager for democracy to be back,
Mhm.
because the problem with military rule is there's no such thing as negotiation. It's like if
Mhm.
the curfew is up until 10, yes, you cannot be out after 10.
Mhm.
And talking about democracy, another country that has terribly been beaten. I mean, the democracy has terribly been beaten is what's happening in Gaza. We just want to inform that the death in Gaza is rising. I think the last count it was probably around 400 or more,
Mhm.
and now Israeli tanks are coming inside Gaza, and they're killing people as well.
It's interesting because when I was reading, I can't remember which one now, but it was an American newspaper, and the headline was interesting. It said, "Soldiers die in Israeli due to attack,"
Oh,
and that is such a different perspective from what we get here. I guess here we are a lot more concerned about Palestine, whereas in US they only report news about Israel and they don't even touch on Palestine.
I think my biggest problem with the issue on Palestine and Israel is not even about Palestine and Israel.
Hmm.
It's about human rights and human dignity to live in a place where you feel is your home, and of course I think people should see this as a crisis of humanity, not a crisis of, between two states, wanting to gain power, or between Hamas and Israeli government. I don't think people should see it in that way. People should see that a lot of the people that are dying is not Hamas. It's not merely just Hamas soldiers, but actually women and children, and it's very I don't know. It's very heartbreaking to see, especially in my social media and in the reports, pictures of dead bodies of women and children.
It makes sense. I mean, it's not just about Israel and Palestine. There's also something going on with India and Sri Lanka for nearly a decade. Lots of uh, the Tamil people being killed in Sri Lanka. There's also something happening in Syria. So it applies for all. It's not just limited to Israel and Palestine.
That's true. I think we need to highlight in all these
Hmm.
issues related to geopolitical war and and civil wars, because I think a lot of people now, they are a bit disillusioned when it comes, especially when it comes to the international stage.
Mm.
They only see like between nation state, as in like powers between
Hmm.
nation state. They don't realize that it's not the underlying problem of this perspective is they disregard the idea of humanity. Like at the end of the day, it's about human rights. You need to preserve human rights, especially when it comes to like foreign policy, when it comes to um, international relations,
Hmm.
and between and relations and domestic relations between all the different
Mm.
political actors.
And we've come so far from civilization, modernization, globalization. I think we should be done with war by now. That was what we did back in the days when
Did-
we
uh,
couldn't communicate.
I really like that you mentioned that, because I think if I'm not mistaken, there's this one writer. He was so
Mm.
prominent. I can't remember the name,
Mm.
but he wrote this book called The End of History.
Mhm.
Like after the fall of after the Cold War, the fall of Soviet, people assume that there will be no more wars.
Mhm.
Like the Cold War is like the last ever war, but it turned out to be he turned out to be wrong. So I guess war will still be there. It's here to stay. I hope it won't, but it seems like it's here to stay. Anyway, that's all for today.
Yes. So before we sign off, just want to remind everyone to like us on Facebook, to follow us on Twitter, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And of course, if you want to comment, to talk with us, you can always send us an email, or to subscribe our Google, to be part of our Google group, you can send your email to drenasian@gmail.com. Anyway, thank you very much. We are signing off, but when we return back, there will be an interesting discussion with Utaya Sankar.